Hello, everyone. Welcome to Podtacular, the unofficial Halo Universe podcast. I'm your host, Duststorm.
And I'm your other host, Biowolf.
And we're here to talk about more Hunt the Truth as we have episode 4 out now, really starting to dig into some interesting stuff. And to talk with us today, we have Drew Freeman over from Podcast Evolved. Welcome back to the show.
Evolved. What's up, guys?
Do you get paid every time you say evolved or something?
No, it's just fun to say.
Just wondering. I think we made a joke about that last time, but I can't remember.
I don't know, probably. I think I did drop that. It really, it's a word that comes into play like way more often than I thought it would. So I don't know. I keep saying it. I'm just like, man, we should have picked a different word.
Evolved. Well, you got Pokemon, they evolve. You have Combat Evolved. You have...
And then Evolve, the video game.
Yeah, there's lots of Evolve.
Like, people think when I tell people I host a podcast called Podcast Evolve, they think it's about the video game Evolved, and I'm like, no, there's not enough to talk about there, buddy. Like, it's about Halo.
Salt to the wound. Salt to the wound.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is there lore in Evolve? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Possibly.
Is it like a lore, like in quotes, like Destiny lore?
Ooh.
Good one. Just kidding.
Oh, boy. This is going to be a good...
Anyways, we're not here to talk about Evolve. We're not here to talk about Destiny. We're not here to talk about Pokemon. We're here to talk about Halo and Hunt the Truth. Episode 4 just got released this past week, and we got lots of interesting details to talk about. Starting off with a little recap of what happened at the end of last episode. As you recall, Ben Giraud is still trying to piece together the conflicting stories of the sources that he's been given from Oni, and then the sources that he's come up with that he's picked up while in the outer colonies. And one of the things that he did was call up one of his previous interviewees, Thomas Wu, who was one of the former war camp prisoners. And he basically got him to admit that he was lying and possibly make Oni look really bad.
Yeah, he kind of like stumbled into the territory of the guy being like, look, man, I said what I had to say. Leave me alone. And you can just hear it in his voice. He's like, wait, what? He's like, what are you talking about?
Why am I being asked this again?
Yeah.
The conversation that happened took place over Waypoint. And one of the things is Waypoint is heavily monitored by Oni. If you want to compare it to some more recent events, think of all the stuff about that Edward Snowden leaked about NSA monitoring people's phone calls. It's basically like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
kind of not safe.
Right. So Waypoint's kind of one of those things that if you're doing shady business, you don't use Waypoint. And you mentioned that ChatterNet was one of the things that you typically use when you want to keep things under the radar. It's not foolproof, but it works 9 times out of 10 kind of thing.
ChatterNet's what the kids are using these days, like Snapchat.
Yeah. It's like torrenting or...
Yeah.
So,
yes.
In the conversation that he had with Thomas Wu, he basically accused him of lying, made him admit he was lying, and then implied that Oni had bribed or coerced him into telling that lie. So you can imagine...
It really sounded like... Because he was saying stuff like... I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
What was interesting about it was he was getting freaked out. And it sounded like he was saying, for the sake of my family or something like that, I just want them to be okay or something like that. And he was basically like, wait, what are you talking about? And for a second, when you hear it in Ben's voice that he's catching on, for a quick second, I was thinking, wait a minute, was this guy not supposed to have any surviving family? And then I realized that no, it was just the point that he was saying that's like, look, I'm just saying what I need to say to keep my family safe was kind of like the unsaid words there. And that definitely screamed of like some kind of conspiracy thing going on. I felt like all of a sudden we were watching some Law and Order episode and you're like, oh, that dude. Yep. Yeah. He's screwed if he says the wrong stuff. And then he basically got him to say it. And then I think the other guy totally realized that they were talking on open channels. And he was like, I got to go.
Yeah, he didn't know other words that needed to be said. He basically spilled everything that he wasn't supposed to say anyway. So it is going to raise even more questions, and Ben's going to look into it, and Oni's going to kind of see. So he may have just screwed himself over.
Yeah, and he was saying like, yeah, just they happened, the camps happened. Who cares what planet it was on? I don't think he realized. Like, it felt like, and I get this vibe from everybody that's a plant, or a supposed plant from Oni. That he got the vibe that like he didn't know what kind of information that he was concealing, right? He wasn't like specifically saying like, oh yeah, it was totally on this planet, dude. Just go with it, believe me. He was really just saying like, I don't know, whatever. Sure, it was on this planet. Maybe it wasn't on this planet. It was on lots of planets. Who cares? I just, I want my family to be safe. And you got that vibe, right? You got that like, he doesn't even know what he's keeping from Ben.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that for Ben, once he realizes that there's something more to the picture, it starts to click in his head that there actually might be something deeper, even more, that what Ellie's been saying, what Katrina's been saying, and eventually what Mashak Maradi's been saying is maybe actually true.
Yeah, as crazy as that sounds, right? To him.
There's always conspiracies with anything. I mean, there's so many stories between glassing and different things. There's a lot of shady stuff that probably went down before that no one else has probably talked about. So I'm sure when he's uncovering all these different details that Oni doesn't want found out, it's going to unlock so much more than what he was looking for.
You have a point that, maybe as a journalist, Ben, the concept of cover-ups, conspiracies, wild accusations, stuff like that, it's not new to him. He was already laughing off Mashak early on in the series, like, yeah, these crazy truthers, whatever. There's a cover-up around every corner. And I don't think he was saying that from a perspective of like, Oni's squeaky clean. There's no possible way that they did any of this stuff. I think he was just saying it like, that has nothing to do with my story. But now that he's realizing that his story in his mind, as he said at the beginning of the series, that he says, you already kind of know how the story's going to go. You just need to figure out the pieces to put it together to go the way that you anticipated it going. And maybe there'll be a little swerve here and there along the way, but he's realizing that the whole story that he had in his mind is crumbling because of huge roadblocks of like, wait a minute, how is this kid that I'm learning about and all these stories of his childhood just all of a sudden not only didn't go the way that they said, but didn't exist at all because the kid was dead. Like, what? That's not something you swerve around. That's a just straight up roadblock.
Right. Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's official documented that's saying that he was dead. There's documentation saying that he did die.
Right. Yeah. And so it's not even a rumor at that point. He's just like, wait, why would this even exist? Like, why did that even get printed?
Well, and we go back to episode 2 where Ben goes to Sully and tries to clear it up and uses the excuse of outer colonies and glass planets have bad records.
Yeah.
Which didn't hold weight when he got held to the fire, and Ellie came back and verified, and then his friend later came back and said the same thing, that what everyone was saying is true. What Ray had said, or what Ray had found out when he digged a little deeper,
the kid's dead and his parents are alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like everything that they told you is the opposite. There were no camps. John's dead. His parents are alive. Like everything that they said was literally the opposite. And, when you press those guys, when he tried to recontact the guy with no shirt on the beach, like all of a sudden that guy didn't exist. And the convenient lieutenant that just happened to stop by and be so convenient was just like unreachable.
He didn't try to contact the shirtless guy, I think, or it didn't at least say specifically.
Yeah, he tried to call him and didn't answer. He never responded. I thought he tried to follow back up with both of them, right?
He tried to follow up with Dion Govender, who was the boxing coach, and then the one lady that was on the ship. He tried getting hold of those two. He never tried to get a hold of the beach guy, the shirtless guy.
Yeah, the shirtless guy I loved his story about like, yeah, man, John. That's the thing that has stuck out to me. So I haven't been here for your guys' discussions yet. And I got to say, the one thing that sticks out to me that I just think is hilarious is all of the people that Sully sends to Ben are all just so familiar. They just speak in such a familiar tone, like, oh, that John, he was a rascal, like, wow, and I remember John. And they just say John, they never refer to him as the Master Chief or like anything like that. It's, oh yeah, good old John, as if to like almost overdo the driving home of like, yes, I grew up with this guy. I knew him my whole life, like we're best buds, like I wrote him a letter last week.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it like this too, though. Like, in the sake of her chief's friend, she didn't even know he became the Master Chief. The only name that they know him of is John. They're not going to say his last name. But
the people who didn't know him, they're calling him John also, like hardcore. Like that's all they say. Right.
Well, I think that implies a certain amount, like you said, of familiarity with him.
And well, so as a veteran. The thing that is really funny, so I was in the Army, if anybody's listening, doesn't know what I'm talking about. The thing that's really funny is if you refer to someone that you knew like way back when in the military, it's actually almost instinct to refer to them by their last name because that's how you know people.
Yep.
And so it would almost make no sense for me to think back and be like, oh yeah, my friend John. No, I'd call him Baker because that's how I knew him. That's everyone, Sergeant Baker, Mr. Baker, Baker. That's how we all holler at each other and stuff. So even hearing that is really funny for someone to be like, yeah, I remember John. He was looking off in the distance and blah. It's just like, what? And then you're like, this guy's clearly doesn't know who he's talking about. So it's really funny to hear how comfortable he is talking about him.
Well, I mean, that just points it right there too, because we know Miranda Keyes. She was Keyes. Johnson was Johnson. They're all the same last names. Like every character that had. Yep. So it is interesting that you point out.
Spartans are the only ones that you're like, oh yeah. Like I forgot Buck's first name's Eddie. Forgot about that.
Well, everyone in the Spartan program, whenever it happened for the Spartan 2s, they were all referred to by their first names. And we never learned John's last name, and we still don't. So I think part of it is them keeping that going without really knowing what John's full name is. And also playing off of, well, during his training as a Spartan, if any of them actually legitimately knew him, they would only refer to the kids by their first names anyways.
Yeah. So right. I also thought it was weird, and I know we're talking about this episode, but I wanted to ask you guys, so when he's referring to basic training and this 16-year-old kid that he didn't care about or didn't really give a notice to until he started taking over and being a real leader and blah, blah, blah. Like, is that implying that he went to basic training with a Spartan? Because what? Like, it's no secret that Master Chief's a Spartan. So in the public mind, how do they think that a person becomes a Spartan if not trained from the get-go? That's what I was curious about. Like, that was a weird implication to me.
So I think that's kind of the current mindset, because the Spartans of the current time, they're all trained
like
from
former
adulthood.
ODSTs and stuff.
Right. They're converted from adulthood into Spartans. So you think about going through the same process, and that's what the public knows, because the Spartan program really wasn't divulged to the public. I mean, the public knew about the Spartans existing, but didn't really know the details of it until the Spartan 4 program came around, because the Spartan 1s were Johnson's group. It's very isolated, very closed off. Spartan 2s were the abduction of kids and basically engineering the Spartans. Then the Spartan 3s were the quick and disposable ones with the experimental drugs.
Yeah. Hey, was your planet glass recently? Sign up now to die next week.
Right. And then the Spartan 4s are this, okay, we're actually making viable super soldiers from trained professionals.
Yeah, the budget came through on this one.
Exactly. Like everyone's like, oh, wow, this is actually working.
I'm really curious because it's obvious, like, I'm sure to the public, it is at least known, like, I want to know what the little holes are. Like, is it known that Spartan 2s, like, he's a Spartan 2? Is it known that he's not a Spartan 4, obviously, and that Spartan 4s, like, I'm sure they have a perception of how you go, sign up to be a super soldier, but are like, is there a public face of like, yeah, we're on Spartan 4s. Well, what happened to it? It's like, yeah, Windows 10's coming out. Well, what happened to Windows 9? Don't worry about that. Shut up. Like is it like that where they're like Spartan 4s are the new way? And it's like, what happened to the other 3 Spartans? Don't worry about it. Shut up. They were all glassed.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that too, because out of all the Spartans that survived, so that we know of so far, is Chief. from the Spartan 2 program. Like he's the last one.
Yeah.
Well, from the games. From the games.
Right, in the games.
I mean, we know from the books.
I'm strictly talking games. Yeah,
right.
Sure,
I'm not talking books because that's gonna introduce a whole new level of things.
Yeah.
But from the games perspective, we only know Chief as the only Spartan 2 alive.
Yeah, or any Spartan until Spartan 4 shows up, because the Spartans that were in Reach, spoilers, not so many of them came out the other side.
Yeah.
So, and then like Spartan 3s are never referenced again. It's like, oh, wait a minute. That's weird.
Well, they all pretty much died off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had a lot of them. I got to assume some of them are around.
What was June?
Like, he was a Spartan 3.
Two.
That whole squad was Spartan 3s.
Sorry. He was a 3. Sorry. That's right.
Yeah, George was the 2.
Right.
Yeah, that whole squad, Noble team was all Spartan 3s. But after that, like in any of the games, obviously 1 through 3, there's no reference. And then in Halo 4, they're like, oh, just kidding, we moved up now. Right? Halo 4, so Spartan 4 is like, God, if they come out with Spartan 5s, I'm just gonna be like, no, guys, come on, no, 3, 4, cut it out. What are you doing?
Well, Locke, like, isn't Locke?
Locke's like an honorary Spartan 4, from what I can tell. Like they made him a Spartan 4, but I think he is like, I would have to guess that Locke isn't a quote unquote Spartan 4 just out doing Spartan stuff. I think they made him a Spartan, put him on a team specifically to go after Chief. Like I think that's the point from the start. And I wouldn't be surprised if that comes up near the end of Hunt the Truth.
It just makes me wonder this too. Is like, what kind of transformation would these guys have to go into the Spartan 4 program? Because we've seen so many different things with Spartan 2s with just altering things. It just makes me wonder, how simple is the Spartan 4 program now compared to what it was like the Spartan program in general? Like they did so many things with just 1s, 2, 3, and now we have 4. We had
it's all streamlined. You just you just shoot up and then you come out the other side with a new suit of armor on.
Yeah, it just makes me wonder do we have any sort of serum to enhance the human tissue to have power that's be able to do it. So it just makes me wonder how weaker these Spartans are compared to what John is.
So I would say they're notably not as specifically engineered because the criteria for the Spartan 2s was very specific, whereas the criteria for the Spartan 4s is a lot more wider. It's a lot less risky because they're not really messing around with the body as much. So while there's still a lot more research behind it and a lot more solid methodology and backing for it, I still think the Spartan 2s are probably the best of the best. Like they are the engineered super soldier.
Right. They have the edge that Oni is trying to figure out at the beginning of Halo 4. They're like, okay, we have the parts here, but what is the missing ingredient? And it's obvious that Halsey's missing ingredient is, you got to kidnap these kids and raise them as like super soldier warrior kids that you turn into these like cybernetic, demons at the end. Like it's very costly. It's inefficient. There's no way you could ever replicate it, but they're trying to, and they're doing it via substances and stuff like that. I would agree that I think that with the budget that is obviously behind the Spartan 4 program and the fact that the Spartan is its own unit, its own freestanding thing, that they figured out something that's what they consider to be stable enough at this point to be like, yeah, we can churn out Spartans if people sign up. But I would agree that there's some curiosity here, right? Like if you become a Spartan, does that mean you are like physically tougher? Do you have like the bones and stuff? Like did you go through all that stuff? Is there an attrition rate here? Is there a like sign here to let us, try to mess with your body? And if you become a horrible mangled thing, we'll go put you in military intelligence. Like what happens? How does that go?
Well, I mean, that's another thing that really makes me wonder too, is because Locke's from Oni. He's not UNSC, so it really makes me wonder if he did have any sort of serum or any augmentation that was made on him to begin with.
So, slight spoilers for this month's book, but there's a transition from an ODST into a Spartan in Halo New Blood that is at least referenced. I haven't gotten that far, but I don't know if they talk about the process that he went through to become a Spartan, or if they just threw some holy water on him and said, hey, you're a Spartan now, go put on the suit.
They didn't go through too much excruciating detail in it.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then Spartan 4 is like nowhere near Spartan 2, like not even close. They don't have any, if they don't have any of the juice or whatever in there, which then makes me wonder, like, how do they wear that armor that needs a tank to put on? Like, what? Some of this stuff doesn't add up. I don't know. But that's not the point here. I'm sorry. Let's underail this. I'm taking off my choo-choo train hat.
They also have different armor for the Spartan Forest as well.
But they still
the
put
Gen
them
2
on.
Mjolnir. Well, yeah, but
with that opening sequence to Spartan Ops, they show like, man, look at this armor. We got to screw it on this dude.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, back to that was a major tangent. Back to the Hunter Truth stuff. Following up on his call that he just finished with Thomas Wu, he's going through his head about whether or not the conversation with Thomas Wu was flagged, because he knows that everything that he just talked about is monitored. There's software that Oni has on Waypoint that can filter through conversations and flag certain keywords and whatnot. So he was freaking out for a little bit, trying to figure out if there was any way he could salvage it in case it got flagged. And with everything falling to pieces with this story, he actually takes some credibility from Mashak Maradi and gives him a call, rings him up, and gets an opinion from him on some of the stuff that's happening. So the one guy that's been bugging him over and over again that he's been trying to ignore, he's finally soliciting information from.
Yeah, he gives him the, hey man, what's going on? Hey.
Right.
You hear anything about those towers?
Yeah. You actually, I'm actually needing something from you this time around. I'm not just going to ignore you. So, of course, he makes sure that Mashak's channels are secured, that no one can possibly eavesdrop on the conversation, because he doesn't really want to have this out there that he's talking with a truther out there that's been nagging at him for weeks to spill some of the beans on this story. Once he gets talking with Mashak, he asks him what's going on in the outer colonies, what's it like out there in deep space, and Mashak basically tells him everyone in the military is kind of pissed right now. Everyone's up in arms over the Master Chief kind of going rogue and having all this power to do everything with saving humanity all on his own.
And when he says everyone, he's talking about the military specifically. Like he's talking about the military aspect, right? The channels that he's monitoring.
Yeah, so there's lots of communications. Everyone's upset and they're sloppy with their communications between command chains and whatnot. And Mashak's been able to tap into those data feeds and pull together this story that everyone in the armed forces, whether it be Army, Marines, troopers, they're all upset over Master Chief. And one of the words that comes up, which we finally have an association with now, is traitor. And with this episode, there was actually some graffiti art put up alongside, which is actually also the podcast artwork that shows traitor labeled over a promotional poster, freak, hell troopers are real soldiers, that kind of stuff. So everyone in the military is super pissed at Chief right now. One, because he is completely out of the purview of the military. No one knows where he is, and despite FleetCom claiming that they have eyes on them, no one believes that. And to have the notion that he has saved humanity legitimately numerous times, Mashak chimes in saying that's a lot of power and responsibility to give one man, which requires a lot of freedom of mobility to go around and do whatever you want within the military, which is usually not something that is common in the military. You're usually under orders to do something, and Drew, you would be the one to really talk to this, being in the Army previously, but you're always constantly under orders doing something, and for Chief to be just going out doing whatever he wants is
right. Even if it's not true, the perception of Chief being able to go, quote unquote, do whatever he wants. And this is something, so that's a thing that we all know is happening. And if you want to see that moment, that's in escalation. When he goes, not rogue, but like basically says, yeah, we're going to go do our thing. After actually being told, hey, maybe you should go sit down for a minute. Like I like
done
that.
enough.
You've had enough. Right? He said, like, you've had a rough few years. Yeah, he was like, you should go take a break, man. Just go, just go relax.
Take a breather.
And Chief, as a person who was raised as a soldier from a child, doesn't know how to do that. And so instead of doing that and following orders, he basically says, "Nah, I'm good, bro. I'm gonna go do my thing." And because he's doing that, like, the military doesn't work that way ever. Somebody reports to somebody always. It doesn't matter if you think you're a like super special psycho killer guy. Like, I've known people who have jobs in the military where like your job is to do your job and no one's supposed to even know you're in the military, and you just do your job and you don't actually go to like PT or wear a uniform or any of that stuff. But even they report to someone. Like, you always have a chain of command. That's just how the thing works. And so to have like public knowledge that, hey, the most important guy in the military doesn't have to report to anybody and he's just doing his own thing, that just makes everybody super grumbly. And then extrapolate that, right? Like, make it 10 times bigger than what you would picture that here in the United States or on the planet Earth. Like, you're talking about this military body that extends across the galaxy. There's a lot of angry people. And it just, it just makes it look worse.
Well, it's not only that, it's that you're going to have someone go out and completely do everything that he's not supposed to. It's like, what rumor was spread too for everybody to hate the chief? That's not
exactly I think there was some seeds planted there.
Like, you can't just sit there and have someone say, "Oh, well, he's going to do what he wants." Like, that's not enough to sit there and label the world's hero, the human race's hero, a traitor. Like, right. There's so much more than just, he's doing what he wants to do.
I think it's similar to, so at the very end of that little moment when he kind of rides off in the sunset and goes like, "I'm gonna go do my thing." There's that chatter, right? There's that like back and forth redacted chatter that's on the like last pane of the comic. It's between two people going like, "Oh man, Hood's pissed," and blah blah blah. Like, it's people like that. It's people chatting about it, and then someone with an agenda somewhere to discredit or paint Chief a certain way, which is, not a stretch of the imagination. We just haven't seen that confirmed yet, or like the plot thread there hasn't really been revealed, but we all feel it coming, right? We all know that someone somewhere has sent Locke on this like crazy mission to track Chief down because somebody somewhere has made Chief look like a really bad dude. And that, because of, just perception and the rumor mill and stuff, has been really ground up into like, no, Chief is a traitor. He's gone rogue. He's crazy. We need to put him down, and then Locke having that statement, whether or not that actually happened or not in the trailer, of like, he's going to be the one to lead the way. Like, I'm sure somebody somewhere is trying to manufacture this, because the first thing that we see at the beginning of the Reclaimer saga, that is the beginning of Halo 4, is this person that we still don't know who that was, interrogating Halsey, right? Saying, what was it? What was it about the Chief? What was it about his mindset, his personality, that made him the one and made him successful through all of this torment and all of this impossible odds? And it's not just his body modifications. It's not just the suit. What is it? And
well, the thing they were trying to get at in that cutscene was, at his core, Chief was broken. He was
right. That's what he said. Yeah.
Right. That they didn't really truly have control over him. So playing into that, another thing that Mashak points out is that what Chief has been doing is a precedence for free reign in the military.
Which, you just can't have.
Right. And it's kind of innately there in Halo 4 because he was off drifting in space and no one really knew that he was alive. So he was kind of on his own to figure out what to do next. He had no chain of command.
Yeah,
he was his universe.
Man, he doesn't need to take a nap.
Right.
He slept for 4 years. He's good. He just rocked through after he just got done tussling with the Didact, man. He's ready to roll. The weird thing, though, is the answer to that question, if you think about it, what is it about Chief? Unfortunately, the librarian tries to answer it with like, "Oh, because that's on purpose. Like, I made you perfect," or whatever. Like, she's like, "I sprinkled fairy dust on you when you were whatever, and now you have this luck gene or whatever. You rolled a lucky 7 when I was creating you in the character creation screen before you existed. Like, I hope that's not. I hope that doesn't come back. Like,
I think it's.
That wouldn't make.
I
Any,
think it's a
that
precedent
wouldn't make any
now,
sense
though.
if it doesn't. But yeah, it's definitely going to come back. But
It's going to be a part of the Halo franchise.
I know,
Because you look at.
it's what makes him Reclaimer.
Yeah, and you think about everything that's led up to this point with the. And I know not everyone likes having a lot of the story behind the Foreigners exposed because there's that big mystery behind who the Foreigners actually were. But you read through
we're so past that though.
Yeah.
At this point,
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
read the Greg Big trilogy. I still need to finish Silentium, but no, I finished that one. Sorry, I need to finish Mortal Dictata. But everything
okay.
that goes through the whole librarian piece that she had 100,000 years of planning to make this happen.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we assume that she did to Chief that's going to put him on this journey to, in my opinion, it's going to be on a journey to reclaim the mantle in association with what Halsey's doing as well. Kind of take on that responsibility of the mantle, access the domain again, all that stuff that we saw in the Greg Bear trilogy.
What if somehow, so in his debrief, when he tells Oni what happened in Halo 4 from his perspective, what if their response is, oh, you have some kind of like super gene that makes you awesome or whatever? Yeah, we're going to need that. We're going to have to take you apart and get that so we can make everybody like immune. And basically he turns into Ellie from The Last of Us. Like, what if that happens? Like, what if that's how they're trying to make him look bad so they can take him in and then take him apart and build their own little Reclaimer Spartan 5s or whatever. Like,
I can see what you're getting at, but I would kind of have to disagree with that because I think it's more along the lines of Chief is now going out basically on this, I guess for lack of a better word, spirit quest of this is what I feel is the right thing to do. I'm going to go do it. Try and stop me mentality. And
yeah, he has his own motivations for the first time in his life.
Right. And Cortana is missing from the picture now. So he's having to kind of struggle with emotions that he's never really had to deal with before because Cortana was always there making the judgment calls. And essentially, she was Chief's emotion. So now he's dealing with this additional burden, I guess would be the appropriate word.
Yeah, he went through puberty. Now he has his own emotions.
It just makes me wonder, though, how much control Cortana actually did have in that particular moment. Because, like,
she was like his guide rails,
Well,
go this way.
Right,
now
but the thing is in Halo 4, she was going nuts. Like, she was going rampant. She was in that stage. How much of those orders or whatever you want to call them was his, and how many were actually hers going into what he's doing in this quest now? Like, how many things I don't know. It really makes me wonder how much she really did have control over that, because in Halo 3 she didn't really have her.
She wasn't
either.
there.
Yeah,
she wasn't there, and the little hallucinations definitely weren't guiding him. There is that moment in Halo 4 when is that Halo 4? No, it's in Halo 3 when like she appears to him near the end of the game. And he discovers the controls that show that the other Halo is being made, and like he's like hallucinating it, like she's like walking in real life in front of him, and he's hallucinating it. And the Arbiter's like, "What did you see?" And he goes around the corner, and so I think
that wasn't him hallucinating. That was 343 Guilty Spark.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he does show up like right around there. He said, how long did you know, or whatever.
Yeah,
you're right.
He knew that it was him leading.
But the thing is, what I think is cool about this is 343 Industries is taking gameplay decisions, gameplay mechanics, like decisions that Bungie made to make the game work the way it did, and then using that as canon and using it to kind of twist the lore into like, well, what would that mean? It sounds like, if I had to guess, a lot of the lore guys, a lot of the narrative teams were sitting there going like, okay, so what is Halo at its core? Like, what is it? And then if someone experienced that, what would it be like for them? How does that feel to grow up your whole life being a soldier and then not having someone tell you what to do next.
You
And
have
then for the
another
last,
figure guiding you
yeah,
along.
and I mean, God forbid, Chief finds out what's going on with Halsey anytime soon. Because how do you respond to that? Like, has he ever truly been angry? Because that'll happen. Like, we will see an angry Master Chief in Halo 5, and that will be scary. Like, it will be frightening, and I can't wait.
And the thing is, there's no limit to him. He has this emotional
Yeah, he's a
drive
no
to
limit
get,
soldier. You're
like,
right.
he's just, we don't know what he's capable of at that particular moment. If something in his mind snaps to where this is going to have to happen to,
and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. You know, Dust, right? We've heard Kiki and some of them say, you know, cryptically on social networks, like, you're gonna question how you feel or what you think about what you know about Master Chief, about Halo, about what's going on in the world. And I hope that that's part of it. I hope it's like John just getting really mad for the first time in his whole freaking life.
Yeah, but
in almost 50 years.
Yeah, for me, though, it doesn't seem like it's going to be something where I'm going to be ending up mad at John or anything. It's more going to be questioning how, and this is what I see currently going through the Hunt of Truth, is the intra-universe perspective of the Chief and what's going on with the Covenant Civil War, the follow-up from the battle with the Prometheans and all that stuff, versus the exo-universe of what we know from reading all the books, from reading all the fiction, because that is pretty much absolute truth. It's been written as absolute truth for the narrative books. But
right, there's no like what is it? The unreliable narrator? Yeah, there hasn't been any of that yet.
Right, and I honestly don't think that would be healthy for the franchise at this point. But as far as what we're going to be seeing in Halo going forward, I think we might see some changes in the way that things are perceived from the player's point of view, which I think is why they're starting off with this Locke angle, where you're going to be in this mindset of Locke and Oni's perspective on going out and trying to stop Chief, whatever he's doing. We need to find out what he's actually doing and stop him at all costs, which is part of what Mashak touched on with FleetCom claiming that they know where he is and they have eyes on him and they know exactly what he's doing, versus everyone in the military saying
they don't know where he is at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And knowing better, because they really don't.
I think that Hunt the Truth, the audio blog, is giving you a taste of the perspectives that we'll see in Halo 5. When you play as Master Chief, you are seeing the truth. And then you're going to be, as a player, torn if you think that everything that you see as Locke and everything that you hear, you know, maybe a mission, like somebody gives you a mission debriefing of like, all right, we need you to go, blah, blah, blah. Like, here's your mission as Locke. I mean, like, on the screen, it's telling you, go here, do this. And you're being told what to do. And you're playing the game and you know that what you're doing is real and the truth because you're playing it. But that clashes with what you experience as Chief. So whose side is the truth? And if you just believe that so everything that Mashak is talking about is the real truth, and Ben is starting to learn, like Neo, that all of this isn't real. And like the people that you're talking to, if you go back and look around the corner, the woman in the red dress is gone and you're in the Matrix. And like when you're playing as Locke, you need to hopefully it makes you question whether or not what you just did as Chief was true or not. Like, you do something as Chief and then you play a section as Locke and you're like, they're telling you Chief just went through here and blew everything up because he hates people. And you're like, what? No, that's not what happened. And then you play as Locke and it looks that way. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, so what really happened? Did Chief really just come? Because that's not what I did. Is it? And I want it to kind of make you get curious about what's really going on.
Right. And the first thing we're going to see is that different perspective within the universe. It's one thing to know what's already there, though, because we do have the books, we do have some of the other external fiction to the games that
the history is written. The history is true, right?
We know the absolute history. It's just going to be the perspective of, okay, this certain segment of history, we're just now starting to learn about it. and we're entering it through a different door this time instead of going down the same door that we've always been going through. Now, the thing for me that really kind of hits for Hunt the Truth is we've really known the truth for every single episode so far. And this last part with Mashak is kind of, I think, the first thing that we actually might not know what this is. So
as fans, we're starting to actually get trickles of intel, right? We're like, wait, no, what are you talking about?
Right. We're actually getting something that we don't know. We haven't actually seen for the first time. So trying to push this along here. After the discussion of the military being upset with Chief, with the fact that he's been able to have all this free reign power and have this responsibility of saving humanity, kind of being a disruption within the military, Mashak goes on to say that a lot of the ignorance that people have behind not really knowing what the government's doing, not knowing where that power and responsibility lies, as Ben points out, is about to blow up in their face because there's these weird things that's happening out in deep space. And as Mashak puts it,
scared of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And it even makes Mashak scared. Things like extramagnetic fluctuations, slip space disruptions, epidemic data corruption, things that are just randomly happening. There's no precursor to determine. Yeah, see what I did there, huh?
Did you do that on purpose?
I did. There's no precursor leading up to any of the events happening, but they're happening, and they're happening on a large scale in deep space. Now, for me, the only thing that we've seen remotely close to this kind of effect has been what we've seen in Silentium, with the flood taking over space-time. Because the...
Okay. Is that why you can't play as the Flood in Halo Wars? Because it'd be cheating?
This is like Mega Flood, like Mega Gravemind stuff.
Mega Flood. Yeah, who else would you play as if you're playing a real-time strategy game as the Flood? You're the Mega Gravemind. Man, that's hard to say.
I don't know if it's actually Mega Gravemind. I think there is another proper term for it. If someone in the chat knows, shout it out. But
Greater Mind.
Was it? The Greater Mind.
I don't know. I was just saying
the Greater
Mind?
No.
I just came up with it.
He's just making that up.
There's a term in Silentium that they use for large grave mind.
Silentium. I didn't get through Primordium yet, so I haven't read Silentium at all.
Spoilers.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I know what's going on. Like, I did my research just so I could know what I missed. But yeah, I didn't get to read through Silentium yet, so I have no idea. Yeah. But I do know that there is, like Gravemind that we saw in Halo 2, I do know now that like there's more to it than that. Like, he's not the end-all be-all of the Flood.
Right.
There's a bigger thing out there.
And
Super Flood.
To blow everyone else's mind, the Flood didn't come from our galaxy.
Right. They were like, wasn't it? They were like the Chia Pets or something. They were like some kind of animal, and it got infested, and that's how they like found their way into here. So I don't remember.
So they got fleas.
There was something from like the way they were describing it was so funny in my memory of Cryptum. Like they had these animals, but everybody thought they were cute. Like I pictured toy poodles. Like seriously, in my head, I pictured Forerunner with like toy poodles in their like little purses, and then those things mutated to eventually become the Flood.
So gremlins,
because getting infected from the precursors or something like that. I don't remember. Yeah, gremlins, pretty much. Somebody fed something after the Halo turned left. I don't know. Yeah, but they're from outside our galaxy.
And if you really want to dig into that piece of lore with the Flood, then Silentium is the book that you really need to read in order to learn everything about the Flood, and that actually how a large massive flood actually distorts space-time, which they don't really go into details that match up to what Mashak is saying here, but that's really the only thing that I can think of that has a galactic impact on technology.
That's crazy, and that's awesome. I never would have thought of that, mostly because I didn't realize that was a capability. But when I first thought of it, when I first heard that, I'll leave out the part that I think is tied to some awesome spoilers that involve escalation. Please go read Escalation. Holy crap, everybody. Read Halo Escalation. It's awesome. But there's other Forerunner things and stuff and people and things and doing out there in the world. And I wondered if it had to do with that. Like maybe an AI somewhere is getting frisky with some Halo rings or I don't know.
Whoa.
Or some other. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure who. Like, even in my theory, I'm not sure who I'm thinking of. But like, just when I heard him mentioning EM fluctuations and stuff like that, I'm like, well, there's a whole lot of Halo junk and like Forerunner stuff floating around out in the galaxy that we know at least exists because of the Janus key mentions in Spartan Ops. You're like, you saw him when she first put it together, and you just see this huge floating room of stuff, and you're like, man, there's a lot of Forerunner stuff out in the galaxy. So I just thought, okay, they're going to pull some other Forerunner thread of like this mega facility somewhere out there that's like kicking up dust.
Well, what's to say that the Flood and the Forerunner technology need to come together and kind of are overdoing things? Like,
that's hot.
Well, no, I mean, like, I mean, the Flood have some sort of knowledge of what's going on. You know, you have the Gravemind that was kind of consuming everything on, oh my gosh, High Charity.
Oh yeah.
High Charity.
Yep.
High Charity.
Yep.
Wow. So like they have, like, it just makes me wonder.
That got blowed up though.
Right. But like, it just makes
got
me
blowed
wonder
up. Hashtag.
It just makes me wonder what else is out there that we don't know of that could be infested with Flood that may be a greater threat than what we're seeing.
Well, that's only one Gravemind, too. You have to remember that there can be multiple Graveminds.
Yeah, I'm sure the series is not done with the Flood because so if you take a giant step back from what we know, right, as Halo nerds that are looking at every sentence in every book and every pane of every comic and listening to every tweet that everybody at 343 ever makes, take a big step back. What the hell is Halo without Halos? Like, that's never going to be a thing. Star Wars will always have wars in the stars. Halo is always going to have a Halo, and you need a Halo for the Flood, and the Flood will always be there. It's just, I think everybody's ready to see the Flood in a different form because, man, Halo 3's Flood was scary and bad, and I didn't like it. I did not like fighting.
It looked like giant things of cancer.
It was cool looking, but man, fighting those things was annoying.
Yeah,
just not fun. Hey, we're just shoot me, kill me. Okay, I'm dead. Now I'm going to shoot you with needles from the ceiling. Like, what?
There is the title Halo in it, and we have seen Halo in every game, but if you take a look at Halo 4, it was kind of a byproduct of the game. You didn't really focus on anything Halo specific. The only mention of Halo is that, the composer was at
there's a Halo over there.
Yeah, installation.
It's off the screen. Don't worry about it.
What is this? Installation 6, installation 3, 2? I forget which installation it is. 6.
No, it's 6.
Yeah, 6.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, there's always going to be Halo. So there's always going to be Flood. So I wouldn't be surprised if what Mashak is scared of is the Flood, because even though the Forerunner weren't very nice when they came back, there's got to be a moment, right? There's got to be a moment where vampires, what? There's got to be a moment where humanity achieves the mantle on purpose. And to do that, maybe the Forerunner got to give us a little leg up so that we can defeat the Flood at the end of the Reclaimer saga, and we make Reclamation happen. Spoilers.
Hashtag.
Like, I bet, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. But how it happens and why it happens, I'm excited. I want to see the Flood in a way that doesn't make me go, oh, God. Because that's how I feel every time I encounter the Flood in any Halo game. When I go back and play through them, I'm just like, not this again. Like, when they showed up in Halo Wars, I almost cried. I was like, seriously? What?
Popcorn flying everywhere.
Why are they here? No, this game was so much fun until now. So yeah, no, I think you're right though, Dust. I think maybe we both are onto something here, and Mashak has figured it out.
Well, I don't know if he's specifically figured it out. I think that
he's figured out that something out there is coming that's not UNSC,
right, and something that is actually happening on a massive scale, something that is not natural.
Quincy's man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking it up, N7 Epic or Neteptic. I don't know how you say it, but
No, it's N7
N7
Epic.
okay.
Yeah,
N7
he's
Epic.
dropping all kinds of
Yeah.
Mass Effect
But yeah,
references. That guy.
Installation 03 is where the composer was.
Right. We went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
And
right. We were counting up.
Verified that on Halo Nation as well. So,
Yeah, it's the Halo 2 Halo. Yeah.
the Halo 2 Halo is Halo Installation 05.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
2301 tangent. I'm the monitor of Installation 05.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so it did go up. From Halo to Halo 5,
We never
went up one.
did get to meet the monitor 49. Or no, wait, no 49. What's after 49?
50?
No.
Hmm?
No, it would be 49 for
Are you sure?
Installation 03 because the monitor numbers are multiples of 7.
Oh, well, yeah,
Oh,
that makes sense.
okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who was the little red one?
That's Penitent Tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 7 to the 4th power.
Yeah.
I can't do math. Like, you're just blowing
Why do
my
that?
mind.
Yeah, why would everybody?
You never realized
Wait, was
that?
there a monitor? Is there a
No,
monitor
like-
Arc? In Halo 3 when we were on the Arc, was there something there that was supposed to be there? Like,
We never
hey,
met
you
one.
came through the portal. Hi, how's it? Here's your tickets. Go have a seat. Like that wasn't. There was no one there, was there?
We never met one.
Weird. Although the Arc was really big, and we were there for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. We were there for a really, really short time.
That next book is on the Arc. Wonder what's going on over there with
I don't know.
dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. What were we back in the Stone Age?
But Gutas.
There's like little dinosaur-y things from the cover art, the stuff on the cover art that's from the you've seen this, right? I'm not just making this up, am I?
I saw a glimpse of the cover art once. Honestly, I did not take a close look at it.
Oh, dude, the cover art of the next book that I can't remember the name of. It's something about darkness and hunting angels. I don't know. It's the one. Yeah, no, I'm just making that up. It's got some cool
Jurassic Ark.
reference. It's not Jurassic Ark.
Oh no!
Oh no, N7 Epic. Just put that in the chat. That was funny.
The P falls off the sign and it just says Jurassic Ark.
Someone needs
That's
to do
awesome. I
that
love it.
in Forge now.
On the cover of the book is an animal, a creature that if sharp-eyed, old school Halo fans would recognize is from the original Halo demo that had like wildlife running around on the Halo. They brought that back as canon on the cover of this book. So there's like wildlife, and it's got a super dumb name too. I can't remember what it's called.
Better than the
what?
MOA?
No.
Yeah, it's way better than the MOA. It's like half chomp or something like that. It's super dumb.
What?
Yeah, it's cool. It's got a cool name.
What was the giant dinosaur-looking thing he's in Reach? The Guta? Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
the
the
big
Gunta.
thing. Oh yeah, see, I always forgot about that. I always forget that scene because it almost felt like an Easter egg. You run up and you're like, wait, is this supposed to be here? Like, is this really happening? There's what are they called? It looks like the thing from Return of the Jedi that he beats up.
Tauntaun?
No. That's Empire Strikes Back. No, the big thing that was in Jar Jabba the Hutt's pit. Yeah, this isn't a Star Wars podcast, so it's okay. But yeah, Mashak, man, he's on to something.
Yep.
And that's there's a lot of scary stuff going on in this episode. Like, it's really scary. There's just like, oof, a lot of tension and drama here.
The even more curious part that is now our cliffhanger until we, I guess, talk to Mashak again. If we talk to Mashak again, is just as Mashak goes into what he theorizes is causing it, he gets a little pop up on his data pad with an event from Sully, no subject, meeting at Oni headquarters.
The principal's office.
Yep.
Meet the principal in his office right now. Go.
Yep.
And that leads him to this conversation, right? That he has with this
right, with
this Canadian pop star from the 80s. I mean, from the 90s. Robin Sparkles. He sits down and talks to Robin
Petra
Sparkles. I'm not making this up.
In here, but yes. So he gets the reminder, and of course he has a sudden realization of, oh yeah, I had that conversation that got flagged. Holy, I am in deep crap. So he had to cut his call short with, yeah, exactly. He had to call his call short with Mashak, which he didn't want to do, and he had a flight out back to Earth in 3 hours. So before he managed to get on his flight, he contacted one of his old peers that
was obsessed with dogs.
That was obsessed with dogs?
She made a lot of dog references. Like she,
I don't think that was.
Yeah,
I don't think that was necessarily her being obsessed with dogs more than it was just making the analogies.
She made like 5 or 6 of them.
She basically plays Robin Scherbatsky because Robin Scherbatsky from How I Met Your Mother is a journalist, loves dogs, and is from Canada, and she makes hockey references in her conversation to Ben. She's like, "You're getting off out of the penalty box or whatever. Or you're gonna sit in the box or like, dude, it's so fun." I'm a long time How I Met Your Mother fan, and listening to this woman talk, I just could not see Robin Scherbatsky talking to Ben and just being like, "Man, this is ridiculous." She's making all these dog references, getting off the leash and be a good dog and all that stuff. Man, you're right, Biowolf. I'm with you, buddy.
Fair enough. So the actual character that she plays is Petra Janecek, I think.
Basically someone from Canada.
Sure. She plays as another journalist within this universe, so similar to what he did. And they both were there during that infamous moment on New Mombasa when Chief was there. So that's one of the ways that they knew each other, and after he had gone off into deep space, she stayed behind and continued doing journalism work for Oni. So he contacted her or dropped her a note before he left for Earth, and then when he landed, he was able to meet up with her at a local pub by the Oni campus to talk about everything that he had done, the talk that he had with Thomas Wu with the unauthorized follow-up, basically getting him to admit that he was lying and everything. And at first she thought it was cute, but then when he mentioned that he did over Waypoint, she's like, "Wow, you were actually that dumb." Kind of thing. So he had been...
Yeah, that was rough. She was like hard on him.
Yeah. Well, and another thing that he pointed out too was that any journalist that worked for Oni would have loved to have this job, to have the job to talk about the chief.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like the jewel on the main jewel on the crown. Like, you're gonna, there's
the Thomas Crown affair.
Oh gosh,
I'm pulling it up right now, but she was in Halo Escalation, and we've seen her before. She had a chat with Lasky, and I'm trying to figure out. Okay,
right.
She sits down and talks to Lasky, and she wants to have met. She wants to meet the chief. She wants to talk to the chief, right? She wants that. She wants the assignment that basically he wound up getting, it seems.
It makes me wonder what's going through these people's mind that they're going to sit down with Chief. Chief's just going to be sitting down, drinking coffee, be like, "Oh yeah, I just sit there and smash a jackal in the face. You doing all this." Like, how are you going to interview the chief? Like, that it doesn't happen. It just makes me wonder. Like, I think this is probably the only way you're going to be able to do any sort of interview.
So I pulled it up, and talking to Lasky, Petra credits herself as the person who made Master Chief a hero. So if you look at her in the light of like who she really is, like who is Ben talking to, who else would Ben want to talk to about this story than Petra, the person who, in her own words, made him a hero. She's probably one of the people. I gotta assume that there's probably a great story of journalism and investigative journalism that led to Oni not being able to keep a tight lid on Master Chief and the Spartans and all the shenanigans and goings on around the galaxy. And she kind of makes herself up as the person who broke all that, who brought it out into the light. So I wonder if there is a bit of, he's saying, to nudge this along just a little bit, he says to her that he wants her to help him, right? Like, "Hey, I might be going down here, but I need you to help me. We need to break this thing open." And she's like, "No." And she says to him, like, "Nope, you're not going to be the guy. Like, you're not good enough. Like, you haven't done what we've done, what I've done, where we've been.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to handle this pressure, right?"
You're newbie.
She calls him to be a good dog and just shut up and do the thing that you were paid to do that everyone else would give their left arm to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that's out of fear or out of her saying like, no, I want to do it? Like, do you think maybe she does some investigating after this?
I think that's more of her knowing the situation that Ben is in because, and this is kind of backtracking just a little bit, something that she pointed out at the beginning of the conversation was he's been out of touch with the journalism game because he's been away for 6 years in deep space. She's been still doing the journalism thing, so the name that he had for himself and being the Oni lapdog, as she calls it, he didn't really have that closeness, that title anymore. So he was out of touch with the whole game for Oni journalism anyways. And according to her later on, Ben was always the type of person that would just run with whatever Oni gave him and just do it by the book. Like, this is the way you were supposed to do it. These are the interviews that you get. Easy job. This time, however, he wanted to go the extra step further, go with his own sources, and that's what got him in this pickle, because he did find those discrepancies with actual people that knew John, and the more and more he dug, the more and more he exposed the truth. And now he's in this predicament where Petra is telling him, this is something that's way out of your league, something that you've never done before, and you're not even in the position to do because you've been out of the game for so long. This is something you're not accustomed to. This is something you would normally even do in any typical circumstance. And because of that, I don't think you're the one to break this story, and I'm not going to help you break it either, because the work that you've done from what you've done in the past is sloppy.
And it's simple. It's simple work, and that's the reason why Oni probably chose him. He did like the easiest job he probably could to get a pretty decent story, convincing story to the public eye that's going to be convincing. But in Oni's mind, he's like, oh, well, he doesn't really dig deep compared to other journalists that we dealt with before, probably. So he's, like you said before, do what you got to do and get out. It just makes me wonder how far he is going to dig to see what kind of predicament he is into.
So I have a question. What if Petra is waving him off because she knows the truth, quote unquote? So this whole conversation between her and Lasky and Halo Escalation literally just ends with her like saying, if I help you, I want the chief. So the reason he's talking to her is he knows that there's a mole because a previous op was a botched op and there was secrets leaked, and so he wants to go to her. Lasky wants to go to her to find out who the mole is. I'm assuming he wants to get what he wants, and so he must promise her the chief in some regards. And what if she's already agreed to do this? So I guess my question is, A, why would Oni put Ben on the chief story if she has gotten somehow access to the chief? And my other question would be, if she's doing it, maybe she's already agreed to do the piece that Oni wants her to do, like that, to paint him a certain way, or she's agreed to play ball, and that's why she's telling him, hey, just play ball. Maybe she knows more about what Oni's trying to say and do, with regards to the chief and the public eye. And so she's trying to wave him off to protect him, but also to protect herself. So that, if this gets outed, she can't interview the chief now. She can't do anything. So
the one thing I don't know is when the Hunt the Truth stuff takes place in relationship to when Petra would be exposing the mole. So
that's a good point.
I mean, I would like to agree with you, but for me, I'm not sure what the timeline is on that. So that might be true. I would wager.
Yeah, we haven't gotten timestamps in any of these entries, like him saying like, oh yeah, I got a phone call on this day. No, you know what? He did say it in one respect. He said on this day I got a phone call, right? And I think he was talking about when he first got the call to do the thing. Beyond that, no, we don't really know when any of this, like the events of the current episode that we're talking about. I have no idea when that happened.
So it's one of those things where I'm guessing the Hunt the Truth stuff and his talk with Petra happened before her trying to help out Lasky, would be my guess. I don't know if that is part of maybe the reason why she was helping out Lasky is because of this, and maybe something that we'll learn on later in the Hunt the Truth stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. Yeah.
there's still a few unsettled variables there I'm not particularly comfortable with yet, but I think we'll see that.
I'm not comfortable with any of this.
I think we'll see that kind of evolve over the next few episodes. But
evolve.
Yeah, there you go. I guess, yeah, you're right. It's a hard word to get away from.
That word pops up a lot.
Yeah, it does. So we go back to the whole thing where Ben is being encouraged by Petra to basically just tell the story as it is, put all the stuff behind that you've done, despite everything that you have from a contradictory perspective. The interview he had, the follow-up that wasn't authorized with Thomas Wu, just say you were trying to get a rise, you were drunk, all that kind of stuff. Try to play it off as you acknowledge that you were dumb and did something stupid, and to go and actually do the job that you were supposed to do. Now,
yeah, he literally stands up from the table and walks towards it, right? I mean, this is like not a day later. It's like minutes before. So she's trying to calm him down. You can just hear it in his voice. He's like, sounds like he's going to throw up.
Uh-huh.
He's terrified.
One of the things to that as well is during the conversation, he got all riled up about how there were discrepancies between what he was hearing from his own sources and the Oni sources. And at one point in the conversation, Petra just goes off on this weird tangent about shore leave and the beach. And to Ben's surprise, and this is something that Petra obviously knew, and later explained, there's video surveillance everywhere, and especially being by Oni campus, there's going to be surveillance pretty much surrounding everywhere. And it being Earth, you wouldn't expect anything less probably. But she started doing that because certain visual cues flag video feeds and then isolate certain conversations. So during that whole explosion,
I think that's a reference to like future video games, like future Halo video games, where you have to keep your cool while you're doing like an interview.
I highly doubt it. I don't think people would be able to really sit through an interrogation for a first-person shooter game.
No, not with the power of Kinect. You have to keep your cool. You have to keep your under. No, this is
hashtag not want. Hashtag do not want.
Oh boy.
Going through that, he found out that there's now audio surveillance and that during the distraction, their conversation was isolated and recorded. And she had a little data pad that I guess with her Oni access, she was able to see when conversations with her were being recorded or isolated or flagged for any of that stuff. So she basically just saved his butt during the whole blow up from any more trouble that he may already be in with his previous conversation with Thomas Wu possibly being flagged.
It reminds me of those, like when that little thing popped up, it reminds me of the little speed things that people used to own in their cars so they don't get speed trapped.
Radar detectors.
One of those things. It reminds me of those. It's like, oh, well, you're getting, something's going up. Just shut up now. It reminded me of that real quick.
I guess kind of, yeah. I didn't really make that connection before, but
it's just me being...
When I was listening to the episode, I was like, how the hell did she know that? Like, she didn't even she was just like, yeah, no, we were being watched. Well, yeah, she just knew it.
Well, you have to think with the Oni access that she has access to a lot of systems, and she always has eyes on...
and she's a journalist, so I'm sure she has anti-Oni stuff on her all the time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So she has the know-how.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me that she would know, but I thought that was all really, really funny. Really well done.
Well, as she points out, she's continued being a journalist while he's been off playing in La La Land in deep space.
Man, she dogged him.
Oh, yeah.
Get it? Dogged him.
Nice. There's not enough dog references. And
oh, boy.
We wrap up the story with the pub. And one thing she mentions before they split ways is back up the data that you already have just in case something happens.
Yeah.
And to Ben, that was the most concerning thing that he has ever heard her say. So as he's walking over to the Oni campus, he prepares to back up all of his data to Ray's drive. And as he walks over, he notices something very peculiar about people walking by the Oni campus. Apparently, the sidewalk is kind of divided up where one, there's it's like 20 feet wide, I think he said, or something. And there's people walking on one side, but on the other side, there's no one walking at all. And it's this dark black pavement kind of stuff.
Obsidian from Minecraft.
Yeah, pretty
Obsidian
much.
developed Halo RPG confirmed.
Obsidian.
I'm making this
Oh, gosh.
from the creators of Fallout New Vegas.
Oh, no.
And Knights of the Old Republic
Oh,
2.
no.
Oh, no.
And Stick of Truth. That was for you, Krista.
Anyways, he goes over to the campus. He's standing by this black obsidian and is wondering why people are avoiding it at all costs. So given this wide walkway, everyone is as far away from it as possible, walking a single file line, almost falling over the curb. Very odd. And it was a typical Oni campus, kind of integrated in the middle of the city. So you had the dark gray building structure, you had your trees and grass and courtyard and everything. But the strange thing about it was there's absolutely no noise coming from the direction of the courtyard. Past the black obsidian, there was nothing. Basically tells you that it's a dead zone. Oni has the technology probably to create soundproof barriers that are invisible. I mean, we've seen it in other sci-fi like shows, so it's not hard to imagine that that black barrier is an invisible barrier for sound, especially being Oni.
I've been to the Pentagon. That's not a thing.
I've been there too.
It's not a real thing.
Well, not the Pentagon.
They don't have. It'd be cool if they had it there. That'd be really cool. Like in the courtyard in the center of the Pentagon, where they have that little building, where everybody was just sitting around there, and you're like, "Wait, there's no sound." Yes, the quote unquote hot dog stand.
Yeah,
that all of the nukes were pointing at, or whatever.
Yeah, right.
If there was no sound there, that'd be super creepy.
I don't have any sound where I live now.
That's because you live in the
You
middle
don't
of
have
nowhere.
the internet where you live now.
It's true.
This whole your whole portion of the podcast was pre-recorded and taped to a pigeon.
That's
a silent
good.
pigeon from
I like that. That's
from
good.
Oni.
It's like the old like nuke guiding days. Like the pigeon's like tapping on a glass and setting it over.
Exactly. Also, I started a hashtag that you are Don Matrick because we blamed you. We blamed you for Connect. So,
Oh,
you're welcome.
gosh.
That's no.
Sorry, you got fired from Zynga. Oh,
He got fired?
yeah. Don Matrick got let go from Zynga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, that's pretty much the end of this episode. We covered the Mashak discussion, both the unhappiness and the disruptions within the military ranks, and then all the weird stuff that's happening in deep space, and then the Petra conversation. And in the next podcast, we'll probably find out what happens. Although I do want to point out something that I meant to point out a little bit earlier, but as Petra was going through kind of the worst case scenario of what could happen, which was
She stopped real quick.
right. So she mentioned that the worst thing that would probably happen is they cut the story, they remove him from rotation from getting further jobs. And she started going on, I don't think they would do something, no, that's the worst that could happen. So there's something else that she knows could possibly happen to Ben.
Crap.
Okay. Two questions before we wrap up. One, do you think it was anything specific, or do you think it was just I'm sure they won't, you know what I mean? Or do you think it was like something specific that she's witnessed in the past?
Something
I think
specific.
it's something she witnessed in the past.
It has to be.
Like one of her former journalist buddies or something that got plastered against the wall with a 50 cal. Like like she knows Oni's down and dirty, and when they don't want something released, they're gonna do whatever they can to make sure that it doesn't. So
I hope we see more of her. They would not have picked an actress who is in one of the highest grossing films of all time just to be like, oh, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you were this? Like, we'll probably see her again. We'll probably physically see her in the show, if I had to guess. Wouldn't that be cool? If the show was like a journalistic thing of trying to find out the truth. So as watchers, you get to learn things about Halo in the universe. My other question is, there is a theory that people are throwing out there that Ben does not make it through this.
It wouldn't surprise me if he don't.
So is that even, do you guys think there's credence there? Like the way this is put out there in future 500 years from now, Halo Waypoint Tumblr posts? Or do you think that it's...
I think it's him, because everything that has been posted has been in the purview of, this is something that I've taken, or this is something that was sent to me, or yada, yada, yada. I don't... And the way that he sets up
so the reason
that he's going to be join me for my next episode, there really isn't... I mean,
he breaks in and talks during the episode, like mentions things like, that was weird.
Right.
The way she said that, like he's speaking over it. You're right. Yeah. But the theory is because he quote unquote backed everything up to his friend, that his friend could have posted all this. So maybe he recorded all of these in the hopes to post them. And then he died. They're being posted posthumously. That's a weird way to put that. And then at the end, like his friend, the guy that he sent it to, that I've already forgot his friend's name,
Ray,
is going to be like, Ben Giraud was killed by Oni.
But this is episode,
he was murdered.
4 of 13 or 14 that are put out by Ben.
Yeah. So I mean, if he dies in the next episode, that'd be super weird, huh?
I honestly, I can see where some of the conspiracy thinking is on that, but
yeah,
I highly doubt it. I think this is all Ben.
Nah, I agree. I think it's weird that so somebody made a I was talking to somebody about this, and they made an interesting correlation to, these are being posted on Tumblr. Isn't that weird? Like, is it supposed to be canon that Tumblr exists 500 years from now? But the point of that is it's not being posted on Waypoint. Halo Waypoint is Waypoint in this weird canon blending of reality and the game lore. It would be an official thing on Waypoint, right? But this isn't on Waypoint. It's on Tumblr, which means it's off of Waypoint in the lore of the universe, meaning, is he posting this kind of on the dark net, right? Like that, not out in the public for the public to see the quote unquote truth? Because even these posts, if they're leading towards a conclusion of, holy crap, Oni covered this stuff up, blah, 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 that wouldn't stay on the internet for very long. Like it wouldn't even exist. They'd catch it and he'd die or something like that. So it was kind of basically referencing like, hey, this stuff isn't on Waypoint because he's hiding it. So you assume that he comes to the conclusion of, Chief's out there, some of this isn't real,
right? And
he lives somehow. So how does he do that?
Like Mashak is posting,
it's an interesting,
like, holding up or hosting this for him in a way.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, putting it on like a website that Oni can't get to for whatever reason.
It's an interesting topic, or interesting thought. But the thing is if Oni wants it gone, it will be gone.
No,
Tumblr's a big enough site.
There's resistance can always prove to be resourceful.
It's the second internet. It's the bottom net. It's the undernet. Bitcoins. And then do we see these guys showing up in Halo 5? Petra and Ben, any of that stuff?
I don't think so.
No.
I see them more as if they was ever like a trailer or something like that led up to maybe like a short video documentary type thing to Halo 5. I seen them showing up in that, but I don't think we'd see them in Halo 5.
Man, I would love to see Petra and Ben in the TV series. Like if the TV series has a cool angle and it's not just a Starship Troopers thing, I would like the sound of that. Like investigative journalists being part of the big arc of the story, so that as a viewer you're learning what they're trying to uncover. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't think they would be in the game. I think there could be a mention of them. I mean, like you said, Petra has been in escalation. This is really the first time we've heard of Ben Giraud, so I don't think we'll see them in game. We might get a reference to them, but I don't think we'd actually see them.
What if Locke gets contacted by Mashak? That'd be cool. Sorry, I'm just coming up with cool ideas.
I think this is a setup to what we're going to be seeing. I don't think this is something that's going to play directly into Halo 5.
I would agree. There's got to be some kind of payoff at the end of this, right? That goes like, oh man, because this leads up to E3, right? You were saying this goes to E3 the week before E3.
Well, I'm guessing this will be leading up to the Sunday just before E3.
No one's going to listen to that episode because Bethesda's going to be talking at E3 and everybody's going to be like, Fallout 4. And then it's all right. So that's what it is. I've connected it right now. Fallout 4 is Halo 5. The Halo 5. Fallout 4 is part of Halo. All right. So like Halo 5 is a Halo game and then Fallout 4 is a Fallout game in the Halo universe. Connected. Ben Giraud is the three dog of the Fallout 4 Tumblr podcasts are the equivalent of GNR, Galaxy News Radio. Figured it all out, guys. We've got it. Sweet.
I want to point something out real quick, and I know we're going to try to wrap up, but the one thing that really just popped with me when you said that Oni wouldn't be able to take it down, why is it that when Ben was talking to the Oni dude that said, are we recording? Why is it that he cut that off? It could have still been recording. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted that news out to show something's up, he would have kept it in there.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Like
he did summarize like what was said after that.
Yeah, and he's kind of scared of Oni, it seems, anyways, or doesn't want to really.
This
piss
was
him
early
off.
on. Yeah, I think after this Oni meeting, if he survives it, which I mean, obviously he's going to, but like after he survives this close brush with getting in trouble, I think he's gonna stick further and further out on that ledge, walk off the beaten path, and find out what the quote unquote truth is. But I think it'd be interesting to see him stick to the plan, to hear what the narrative is that they're trying to feed him, and then juxtapose that against the truth that he's finding out. So continue to find the truth, hunt it, but also get fed the information that Oni's trying to give. So it's like, okay, so what are they trying to say? Because right now, the thing that I wanted to point out, and then I'll stop talking. Oni's not painting him as a traitor. Nothing, any of the people that have been fed to him have said anything about him, about Chief being a bad guy at all. Not even close. The stuff that Mashak was saying paints Chief as a traitor because you got some frustrated, disgruntled soldiers rambling off about like, oh, I can't believe he gets to do whatever he wants and I got to clean the head. You know, like there's that going on. But everybody that's referenced John and fawned over him is the stuff that Oni's pushing to Ben, and no one has said anything to the effect of like, oh, it's too bad he went crazy and caused a bunch of people in New Phoenix to die. Like, no one has said anything that led to us believing that Oni's trying to paint a bad picture here. So, but you know, anybody that I talk to about Hunt the Truth that doesn't follow it closely says like, oh, so they're making him sound like a bad guy? Because that's what's expected here. That's the tone. That's like the undertone that everybody's getting. But that hasn't even happened yet. So I'm really curious what the tone is, what the message that Oni proper is trying to feed through Ben in his article.
So I think that kind of goes back a little bit to, and I was talking with the Podtacular staff, is if you look at the lock trailer that kicked off this whole thing, he was talking about how they wanted to remember Chief as the one who saved us all, to all hail the conquering hero. He didn't really go into saying that everyone's opinion was that he was a traitor. It almost seemed like he was pursuing Chief to keep his image of being the hero of humanity, but that Oni still had to like address his. But
then you had to go and mess it up.
Basically, yeah.
Somehow.
So Oni's on a manhunt for the Chief because the Chief's off doing his own thing, and they don't want him to have the free reign. They still want. I mean, it's Oni. They want to always be in control, know everything, yada yada yada. So
from that perspective, everything that Oni is trying to say about him is not planting the seeds like Biowolf and I were talking about earlier of him being a traitor. It's his actual actions that are being perceived as him being a traitor.
Within the military, yes.
Right,
and that's what Mashak was getting at.
Why would they sit there and still portray him as the all-conquering hero? Why is it that? Because
it gives hope to people. It gives hope to civilians and the public. And that's always the game that you try to play.
Right, because he represents the military from their perspective, right? Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, but it to me only they just I don't know. Like to me that's a little
internal.
off.
The agenda is to go hunt down Chief because he's gone AWOL, and the military sees that, and Mashak has picked up on that through all of the conversations that have gone on.
The cover up is them trying to paint him as the hero, right? And then they're probably trying to kill him so he can be a martyr, and they don't have to let him screw it all up for their master plan that we don't understand.
Exactly.
Because what is the master plan? Like what? Like they're scared, right? Because he's going free, but like scared of what? And it's because they don't want him to find out about like the Civil War and all these things that they're trying to engineer.
Well, I think they don't want the public to find out about the shady stuff that they're doing, but they also, going back to the whole librarian has this plan that she's perfected. The Chief is obviously going on this, for lack of a better term, spirit quest to fulfill the responsibility of the mantle and accessing the domain, taking that responsibility that was inherited by humanity from the Forerunners. So that's one separate part of what I deem as kind of the fundamental Halo picture now. And the other side is what's going on with the internal relationship with the Covenant, with the elites and the humans, and then the Civil War within the Covenant factions, the Civil War between humanity, still like UNSC and insurrectionists and everyone in the outer colonies versus the core system and all that stuff. So there's all these...
And then Avengers Civil War is coming soon.
Age of Ultron, all that stuff. But there's this one side of it that Oni has no control over Chief whatsoever. So they want to keep this picture. And
they don't want people to know that.
Right. So they want to keep this picture of what Chief done or what Chief did was heroic. He saved humanity. He should be praised for what he's done. And they're hiding the fact that, well, Chief isn't exactly working for us now.
He's not so happy with what we're doing right now because we don't really care that he just lost his best friend.
Well, I budget cut.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Budget cuts. We told him to take a nap. He didn't do it.
I don't think it's particularly that.
He told him to take a timeout, and he said no. He busted through the crib.
He's like a dragon. He's like they're like the mother of dragons, and he's the dragon. And he's like, no, bro, no, I fly where I want.
I don't think it's that for the Chief. I think it's more because you look at the relationship that Chief and Cortana had, and Cortana delved a lot into who the Foreigners were, what the ultimate goal was for humanity, and that's something that Halsey's pursued as well. So I'm betting we'll see a meetup of Chief and Halsey.
I was just thinking
somewhere down the line.
That's got to happen, right? And then she goes like, "Oh, by the way, here you go. Here's Cortana."
And another thing to that too, which is another reason why Oni had her locked up, is because this secret agenda of everyone that's a Spartan 2 is under control of Halsey. And while we know that's not necessarily true, that's something that Oni fears, that's a good because point, everyone looks up to her as a mother figure because that's what she was.
I think you've stumbled upon the thread that is anybody that isn't playing within the rules of Oni. And God, I can't wait until in the game universe we get to stop saying Oni and say Osman, because I totally forgot until recently that she actually shows up in Spartan Ops. So she's in game now. If they're not within their purview in Osman and Oni and even Parangoski or Paragoski, I don't remember how to say her name. Then they get shit canned, and that's what's happening with Halsey. Like Halsey didn't do anything, but they don't like her. They just straight don't like her, and it's because what's the theme? Halsey, Spartan 2s, Chief, Cortana, like none of these people necessarily have Oni's best interests in mind.
Right, they're looking out for humanity, not the military.
They're free thinking.
Right.
And I mean, who else just did that? Who else have we seen do that? Let's see. Lasky just did it in Halo 4. So what if Lasky gets put on the chopping block and then he, Arbiter is disposable? Because he's not like, he doesn't care about Oni's plans and the UNSC and stuff like that. Like pretty much anybody who's outside of the Oni and like what they want and what they deem correct is is in the targets, is a known quantity, and someone that they need to have a backup plan just in case that person starts to step outside the lines, color outside the lines, so to speak. And I'd love to see more of that explored with more than just Chief. I'd love to see Kilo 5 do it. That would be a weird dichotomy there. I mean, Osman, basically, those are her homies, right? Like, what if they're part of Locke's entourage on that? What if they're the ones that are standing behind him, talking to Arbiter with his homies behind him? Like, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to have Oni be a legitimate threat in a Halo game, and now you're not fighting on the side of the UNSC. You are fighting on the side of humanity and what's right and the truth, right? Yeah. So now all of a sudden humans are on the platter, and this is something I've thought about for a long time. And we need to wrap up, but my real question about Halo 5, the biggest question I have is: are you going to shoot people? Is that going to happen? Because Halo's always been a mature rated title. But one of the easiest things to make a game a mature title that like parents are not going to let their kids play is shooting people. And you don't do that. You've never done that. The only time you've come close is in Halo Wars, taking over any stronghold. And that's not even part of the game, like the story. That's like skirmish stuff to just get you an extra base. There's never been shooting people. I bet you do, man. I bet we shoot some Onis. Yeah.
I don't
Chief's
think...
on the run. How do you have that feel real unless you have to defend yourself against Oni agents?
The only case I can see anybody getting shot is Locke and Chief. That's the only case I can see. Chief's fought for humanity for so long. I think it's driven into his mind that human isn't the enemy. They're a problem, but I'm not going to sit there and destroy them to get them out of my path. But then again, we don't know what kind of state of mind he is in. So I don't think we're going to see any human casualties apart from Chief maybe taking out Locke.
So
I think that's the only way that we can honestly see that.
So if we look at the cutscenes in Halo 2 Anniversary, the additions with Locke, we see that Locke is pretty much on his own going after the Chief. It doesn't really seem like he has backup at this point. So I don't think there's...
No, he does. Yes, he does. He has the Spartans that were in the background, the red, green, and yellow
in the background of the Halo 2 Anniversary bookends. It's not just him. Like, I think it is just him. It's his mission, but he does have people with him in that scene.
But so it's not that many people. It's not
by himself.
It's like a group of 3 or 4.
I mean, it's a fire team, right?
Right, but
not a Destiny fire team, like a real life fire team. So we're not going to
be really seeing that much. I think. I don't think we'll see people shooting people or humans shooting humans really at all. If anything,
no, not
it'll be like maybe Chief is under fire or something. Because we've seen cutscenes. I mean, for crying out loud, Palmer shot Halsey in the arm. That was a cutscene. I think we'll see that in cutscenes.
What arm? She ain't got no arm no more.
It makes me wonder this though. If Locke has this team, even if it is this group of 3 or 4 guys, it makes me wonder, since Chief is going off on his own, what's not to say that he's not going to find some team members that he already knows? What is it that he may be looking for some people he knows before to try to back him up, so he can finish the mission that he's trying to do?
Locke?
No, Chief. Chief is going after people that he's knowing.
I wonder who could help him with that.
Does he really know anyone in particular that's still actually alive, though? Because he's been out of touch. He's been out for like 4 years. I mean, is there...
Oh, man. Are we just going to go...
What's an escalation?
So in 7 Epic is actually... Yeah, I was going to say. All right, so spoilers for like 2 seconds. Chief is not by himself.
Okay.
Chief, when he goes AWOL, he takes Blue Team with him. They're with him.
Okay. So that's what?
So that's Fred the only people that I can think of that... It's Fred, Linda, and Kelly. Yeah. So they're with him, but see, I don't think because he doesn't tell them what's up. The end of escalation is Hood telling him, you need to take a nap. Like, you need to take a knee. You've had a rough few years. These are quotes. And then he goes, okay, got it. And he walks away and he walks up to Blue Team and they're like, so what are we doing next, Chief? And he's like, we got our own, we got to go on our own orders. We have mission orders. And then he doesn't say that we've been told to do nothing. He says like, we have orders, here we go. And then
it's interesting you say that, though, because he did defy Del Rio's orders without any questions asked. Like he told him surrender Cortana now, and he goes, nope, screw you, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
So I went back and rewatched all that stuff recently, and I tweeted out, like, that's the moment he says sir, no sir, when he says surrender that AI, that's the turning point for Master Chief to become who he is today. And we're seeing more of it in Escalation, and that is why people are chasing him down, because he's like the chatter. There's like a little chatter exchange between people that are like redacted. It's this classic Halo stuff where you just see text on a screen at the end of Escalation's arc with Chief, and it's two people talking, saying, "Oh man, Hood's pissed. Like Chief's gone AWOL or whatever." And he's taking on mission after mission on his own. He can't keep this pace up. He's going to die. And you just assume that Blue Team's still with him at that point. But that's basically what he's doing right now. And that's what they're talking about. That's why he's AWOL. He's basically denied
defying orders.
The orders from Oni and UNSC to be like, dude, you need to chill out. And you got to assume it's because they have plans in place. I mean, the Kilo 5 trilogy really weaves a tangled web of things that they're trying to have happen, and other things going on in Escalation hint at just there's a lot of moving parts under the UNSC, and I think the last thing they want is Chief with no real direction just doing whatever he feels needs to be done.
Well, and I think there's even a mention in either First Strike or Ghost of Onyx where we see Chief in, I think, like on a ship or something, and he doesn't really like not having anything to do. Like that's something that's unsettling for him.
And that's got to be true of all Spartans. Like I said earlier, they've been mission after mission since they were 6. So that's a scary thought from UNSC.
It's a brainwash is basically what it is. You're after what your mission is to complete. You're looking for the next mission in line is basically what they're doing. So like Chief's always been in that situation to where he has to finish the next fight. You know, throughout Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, he's always out sitting there trying to do something. In that downtime, what is going through his head? He actually can sit down and think. He's not thinking of the next move to take out the enemy. He literally there.
He follows the thread of like, what's the next threat? What happens next? And after the Human Covenant War, like his mission on a grand scale is over. Like he just stumbles into what's going on with Didact and stuff in Halo 4. And I really won't spoil what's going on in Escalation, but he has a reason. And it's not just, gotta go find Cortana. There's stuff that he thinks is a threat, but it's not a priority to the UNSC. He says, blankety blank needs to happen. And Hood says, yeah, we'll take care of that. You need to go take a nap. And
I slept for 4 years.
He's like, I mean, he doesn't say that, but that would be a great line, right? I slept for 4 years. I'm good, bro. But he decides to take it upon himself to handle this threat that he perceives himself in his own way. And that's why they're like, whoa, we can't have you doing that, man.
It just makes me wonder why the UNSC has him as a threat. What is he honestly going to do that's going to threaten whatever it is that they're after? Just because they're not going to sit there and handle it. When has he ever put anything in threat before?
Because, like we said before, I mean, that's what ties it together. What Dustin and I said before. If Oni isn't in control, if they're not calling the shots, they don't want shots to be called. If the UNSC isn't orchestrating the events, the missions, anything, they don't want it happening. And he's trying to do it himself, and they want that to stop.
Yeah, that's what I kind of agree with that. So
sorry to make the show 2 hours.
No, that's all right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we split this off is because this is more central for everything because of how much you can tangent off of all this stuff that's going on in the true stuff. And every week it's just going to get more and more crazy. So as far as everything that we've talked tonight, even despite all the tangents, it's still good stuff to talk about. And
then Palmer and Lasky get married.
Oh boy.
I know, right?
Still going off of that.
It ain't going to stop.
Yeah. Anywho, but that wraps it up for episode 4. We got through everything that I think we wanted to talk about. There's lots of stuff going on. We have the cliffhanger now of what's happening in deep space with all the weird occurrences. And then now we have Ben going into Oni. So we'll see if his conversation was flagged, which I think at this point it's safe to say it most likely was, and there's going to be a big, long discussion between Sully and Ben on what he is going to be doing. This is probably his last chance of like, if you want to do this right, you need to do this right now.
Straighten up or you're getting the hammer.
Right. There's lots of other things we could have tangent on. I'll save that for another night because we could just talk about this for hours on end. So I want to give a thanks to Drew for being on. Thanks for taking the time to stop by and chatting with us tonight.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, man. I mean, I loved this. I love this kind of talk. You know, it's what we like to do over at Podcast Evolved is just pick apart all the lore and the universe that is Halo, man. There's a lot in there. There's a lot of moving parts, especially now. I mean, there's more lore going on this year than there's ever been in Halo, and probably within the previous years combined. So it is, like you said, you can just talk forever about it. We love it, man. This is my favorite kind of Halo.
I do like the fresh perspective on changing things up a little bit. I think it was very shaky for Halo 4, but I think the direction that we're kind of taking, where we're actually taking a new route to approaching the story, is going to make Halo 5 interesting when it comes to the plot. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm looking forward to it. And this Hunt of Truth stuff is really starting to scratch that lore itch to the max.
Absolutely. You know, Halo 4 was Wake Up John, and Wake Up John, in my opinion, meant wake up the humanity in John, wake up John as a person, put the Master Chief to sleep and wake up John. And that's what we're seeing here, is him exploring the universe around him as John. So he's like his own character now. And he's not just an asset for the UNSC. So I'm excited to see where the universe goes from here, right? I mean, Master Chief will probably not be Master Chief after this trilogy or this saga, whether that means he dies or maybe whether that means he kind of branches off from being just a Spartan. You know what I mean? So I'm stoked.
Yep.
I think the Chief that we know has been done and gone ever since the beginning of 4. I think it's safe to say that.
I don't think necessarily the beginning of 4, but I think we have seen a transition or a transformation of him because of Cortana's deteriorating state. He's had to take on more of the responsibility of what he relied on Cortana for, which is a lot of the reasoning, the emotion going into decisions, all that kind of stuff. And now that she's absent, it's like this one part that was trained out of him during his Spartan training is now open to actually permeate into his life. And that's what he's having to deal with. Now, I haven't caught up on Escalation. The last one I read was 9. So there's still a lot for me to catch up on. But there's certain parts of John's humanity that we've never seen before that he's now realizing that's actually there, and he probably didn't realize was missing because of Cortana being around, and now she's not around anymore.
Yeah, he's straight chatty in Escalation. Like, he talks a lot. Like, you read it all, so you don't get to hear him, but he talks a lot in Escalation. I really hope that makes its way into future Halo games. Like, I want Chief to have a voice, and we're continuing to drag this podcast on. So I'll say more about that on Podcast Evolved. Please go check it out. I love you. Bye.
I will say that in the books, he's actually very chatty. I don't think that's something that is just specific to the comics. Thanks again, Drew, for being on. You can check out his podcast, Podcast Evolved. I think it's on iTunes. And then your website is...
Yes, it is. ratedmgaming.com, r8dmgaming.com/about evolved would be where you find our Halo podcast. We have other stuff, but we're really happy with this show. It's all about the lore, and we dive into just examining just parts of the universe, and we're just as giddy about this stuff as you are right now, man. This is a really great time to be a Halo fan.
So we will be back with another live recording tomorrow for our update show and our community stuff. We have lots to talk about with the recent release of the newest content update for the Master Chief Collection. More news on Relic and ODST, and some other pretty interesting things as well going on within the community. So make sure you tune in tomorrow.
Halo Escalation came out today.
That's true as well. Lots of stuff to talk about tomorrow as well. So we hope that you enjoyed this podcast tonight. We will be back again next week to talk about more Hunt the Truth. I think we're going to have someone else on, another guest on for episode 5 to talk about whatever we get next week, whatever Ben's journey takes him into the hellmouth of Oni headquarters.
One final plug, if you don't mind. Sorry, I just remembered to mention for anybody who's listening, we'll have Matt Forbeck from the author of Halo New Blood next weekend. So if anybody is interested in hearing specifically about Halo New Blood, the book that just came out, he's on next weekend. I almost totally forgot to mention that. I knew there was something that I wanted to say, and that's all I had to say. Sorry.
There you go. But yeah, I just wanted to say one last thing. I know other people have brought it up before, but Ben says O-N-I, and it's always been pronounced Oni.
It's Oni. Get it right, Ben Giraud.
So that's a little pet peeve, I think, from a lot of people. But anyways, that was the last thing. That's it for us tonight. Make sure you check us out on our website, podtacular.com. We're all over the social media networks, so Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that fun stuff. So make sure you check us out there. Check out our forums where we have a thread for Hunt the Truth and some other stuff going on about the patches for Master Chief Collection, some other interesting stuff. Make sure you give us our screenshots as well. We're looking to do those every week to highlight your screenshots that you take in the Master Chief Collection. And finally, check out the podcast network that is thepodcast.com, where you can find shows like Guardian Radio, Crits Cast, Work in Progress, How to Murder Time, and The Learning Cliff, which is the most recent addition, and it's an EVE Online podcast. So make sure you check those out if you're looking for some other great gaming podcasts. And until tomorrow for us, or next week if you're waiting for the next Hunt the Truth episode, keep on fragging flagged conversations.